You're being used. In what ways are you yourself not being used? In what ways visibly and invisibly so are you being used that you know of and don't know of simultaneously? And for how long? How much control do you have at any time that you deem is more so than that individual you say is being used? There's a great leveling effect that takes place. When you try to see how the two polar opposites share the same pole. Same coin, different sides. But birds of a feather flock together. Still, opposites attract. How opposites are you that you attract, or call in, you speak to or of? We use a service to express ourselves and others comment to our expressions. So they profited without any know-how and they suffer the consequences of using you, when they could be learned instead. Being used is a symptom of too much sameness. It's a disease that begs to be not just treated but cured. Know enough to pass the course. Look smart and pretend to be competent, but you don't have to be it. I know enough of the right people. I'm good. I'm set. This toxic mindset need to go in order for all to stop being duped. Being used and feeling left out on the cold and not being able to find one's true identity alone and in the midst of crowds. Being used in the ways we mean it is usually negative. It feels like being wronged, taken advantage of, not being acknowledged for what one brings. It is an even bigger symptom of an inherently inverted system that favors a oneness of mind or a sheepy herd mentality. The cure is to know first how it is, not just one but many, and on both sides of the fence of being used for this created phenomenon. I'm not being used that way. At least I get paid. At least I'm not suffering like them. Some of these comments are speaking to a deferred judgment day approaching. It can take time for this reality check to catch up as it is inherently designed within the system that favors the oneness of mind that said, justified truths rear their ugly heads in just how true they've been. If and when it hits hard enough, then it becomes clearer as to how the gross violation against wills has always been. Being used was always the plan even for those that wrote the blueprints. You can make sense of this, anyone can, of not allowing differences to proliferate without it being seen as a damned threat everywhere all the time. We have copycats, but no originality. Being used again is a byproduct of not being allowed to really be to find out what it actually is for someone. Taking shortcuts isn't always beneficial. Using someone that is. They also use your words for their ideas somewhere else and profit off you in ways not known to you. You said it, they got the money. You said it, they got the notoriety for it in some conversation across the world. That made more an impact because of who they know, not necessarily always what they know. Outside of knowing enough to use what you've written, and knowing enough what that would get them. Not necessarily that they know much at all what you said, just that it would give them a leg up. But when the chips get knocked down, they can't use that what you wrote because they never lived it to help them. In other words, who's not being screwed over? Who's not getting their due credit in aforementioned originality when it's anything but? Look the part but don't actually have to be the part. You can justify this by saying, at least I'm not them.